sound of the slap didn't just echo through the cramped diner, it tore the soul of the town right down the middle. One moment, 72-year-old Etta was reaching for a napkin. The next she was on the linoleum floor, clutching her cheek, while Sheriff Brody Taggart loomed over her like a storm cloud. He thought his badge made him a god. He thought the trembling old woman was nobody. He didn't know that the trembling wasn't fear, it was restraint. And he certainly didn't know that the phone call she would make an hour later would bring a hellstorm raining down on his quiet county that no badge could stop. The heat in Oak Haven, Georgia, had a way of making people mean. But Sheriff Brody Taggart didn't need the humidity to be cruel. He wore his cruelty like he wore his badge polished front and center, and daring anyone to say a word about it. It was 10:30 on a Tuesday morning at Sally's Skillet, the only diner in town that still served grits, the way they were supposed to be made, slow, buttered, and heavy. The air smelled of bacon grease and old coffee. Etta Robinson sat in her usual booth in the back corner. At 72, Etta was a fixture of Oak Haven. She had taught half the town to read during her 40 years as a librarian, and she had fed the other half during church potlucks. She was small, her frame whittled down by time, with silver hair pulled back into a neat, tight bun. Her hands, though arthritic, were steady as she lifted her cup of black coffee. "Morning, Mrs. Robinson," the waitress, a young girl named Jenny, said with a tired smile. Jenny looked nervous, her eyes darting toward the front door. "Can I get you a refill?" "Please, baby," Etta said softly. "And maybe a slice of that pecan pie, if it's fresh." The bell above the door jingled aggressively. The atmosphere in the diner shifted instantly. It was like all the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. Sheriff Brody Taggart walked in his heavy boots, thudding against the floorboards. He was a large man, thick around the middle, but with arms like tree trunks. He had been the sheriff for 15 years, inheriting the position and the attitude from his father before him. Taggart didn't sit. He patrolled. He walked down the aisle of booths, tapping his nightstick against his thigh. Tap, tap, tap. He stopped at Etta's booth. Etta didn't look up. She kept her eyes on her coffee, blowing the steam away gently. "You're in my seat, Etta," Taggart said. His voice was a low gravel rumble. There were 10 empty booths in the diner. This wasn't about a seat. "Morning, Sheriff," Etta said, her voice steady, though her heart hammered against her ribs. "I didn't realize this booth was reserved. There's no sign." "It's reserved because I'm standing here," Taggart sneered. He leaned down, placing both hands on the table, invading her personal space. "And I don't like the way you parked that rust bucket of a sedan outside. It's crooked. Looks like a hazard." "I parked between the lines, Sheriff, just like I always do." "Are you calling me a liar?" The diner went silent. Jenny, the waitress, froze with the coffee pot in her hand. The line cook stopped scraping the grill. Everyone knew what Taggart was doing. He was bored, he was angry at something else, and he needed someone to break. "I'm just stating the facts, sir," Etta said, finally looking up. Her eyes were brown and deep, filled with a dignity that Taggart despised because he couldn't take it from her. Taggart smirked. He reached out and tipped her coffee cup. It wasn't a violent shove, just a calculated nudge. The hot black liquid spilled over the rim, cascading onto the table and splashing onto Etta's lap. Etta gasped, jumping up as the scalding liquid soaked her dress. "Oh, Lord have mercy." "Clumsy," Taggart deadpanned. "Look at the mess you made. You expect Jenny to clean that up?" "You did that," Jenny blurted out from behind the counter, her fear momentarily eclipsed by outrage. Taggart whipped his head around, glaring at the girl until she shrank back. Then he turned back to Etta, who was frantically dabbing at her dress with a napkin. "Apologize," Taggart demanded. Etta paused. She looked at the sheriff. Disbelief warring with pain. "You want me to apologize for you burning me?" "I want you to apologize for making a scene in my town," Taggart hissed. "And for looking at me like you're something special. You're nothing, Etta. Just an old woman taking up space." "I will not," Etta said, her voice rising. "I have lived here longer than you've been alive, Brody Taggart. I changed your diapers in the church nursery. I will not apologize to a bully." That was the word that did it. Bully. Taggart's face turned a shade of crimson. Without thinking, without hesitation, he swung his open hand. Crack! The sound was sickeningly loud. The force of the slap knocked Etta backward. She stumbled her hip, catching the edge of the booth, and she crumpled to the floor. Her glasses skittered across the tiles. "Don't you ever talk back to the law!" Taggart roared, pointing a finger at her prone form. Etta lay there, stunned. Her cheek was already swelling, throbbing with a heat that matched the coffee stains on her dress. She tasted copper in her mouth. Taggart looked around the room, daring anyone to intervene. Two men in construction vests looked down at their plates. The line cook turned his back. Fear was the currency Taggart traded in, and business was good. "Get her out of here," Taggart spat at Jenny. "And if she parks crooked again, I'm towing that piece of junk." Taggart adjusted his belt, turned on his heel, and walked out of the diner, leaving a wake of silence and shame behind him. Jenny rushed to Etta's side, sobbing. "Mrs. Robinson. Oh my God. Mrs. Robinson, are you okay?" Etta let Jenny help her up. She was shaking, but not from tears. She picked up her glasses. One lens was cracked, a spider web of fractured glass. "I'm fine, baby," Etta whispered, though her voice trembled. "I'm fine. I'm calling the police. Wait. He is the police," Jenny cried, feeling helpless. "I'll call the state troopers. I'll call someone." "No," Etta said firmly. She dusted off her dress. She touched her cheek, wincing. "You won't call anyone, Jenny. It won't do no good. It never does." Etta limped toward the door. She didn't go to the hospital. She didn't go to the mayor. She went to her car, sat in the driver's seat and took a deep breath to steady her shaking hands. She reached into her purse and pulled out an old battered smartphone. She dialed a number she hadn't used in 6 months. It rang once, twice. "Hello," a voice answered. It was deep, calm, and alert. "Caleb," Etta's voice finally cracked, the tears spilling over. "Mama." The tone on the other end shifted instantly from casual to sharp. "Mama, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" "I had a little trouble at the diner, baby." "Define trouble," Caleb said. His voice dropped an octave. It sounded dangerous. "Sheriff Taggart," she whispered. "He hit me, Caleb. He slapped me in front of everyone." There was a silence on the other end of the line. It wasn't an empty silence. It was a heavy, suffocating silence. It was the silence of a predator spotting prey. "I'm coming home," Caleb said. "Baby, you're in Germany. You can't just woo." "I said I'm coming home, Mama. Pack a bag. You aren't staying in that house alone tonight." The line went dead. 36 hours later, a black Ford F-150 with tinted windows rolled past the "Welcome to Oakhaven" sign. The truck didn't have local plates. It had Virginia plates. It moved through the town like a shark through shallow water, slow, purposeful. Behind the wheel sat Caleb Robinson. To the people of Oakhaven, Caleb was a memory, He had left town at 18, a skinny kid who was good at math and ran track. He had joined the Navy to pay for college, or so everyone thought. He rarely came back. When he did, he was polite, quiet, and kept to himself. He wore long sleeves even in the summer, but the man driving the truck wasn't the skinny kid anymore. At 34, Caleb was 6'4" of corded muscle. He had a scar running through his left eyebrow and a tattoo on his forearm that was usually covered a trident eagle anchor. He wasn't just Navy. Caleb Robinson was a Master Chief Special Warfare Operator, SEAL Team 6. He had spent the last decade hunting men who were far scarier, far smarter, and far better armed than Brody Taggart. He had operated in the valleys of Afghanistan, the coast of Somalia, and urban hellscapes in Syria. He had just finished a rotation training NATO allies in Stuttgart when his mother called. He had taken emergency leave, hopped a C-130 to Andrews Air Force Base, and rented the truck. He hadn't slept in 2 days. He didn't feel tired. He felt a cold, burning rage that sharpened his vision. He pulled up to his mother's small, white clapboard house. The grass was neatly cut. He paid a local kid to do it, but the house looked fragile, just like his mother. He walked inside. Mama. Etta was in the kitchen shelling peas. When she turned, Caleb felt the air leave his lungs. The bruise was purple and yellow, spreading from her cheekbone down to her jawline. Her lip was split. Caleb didn't say a word. He crossed the room in 2 strides and enveloped her in a hug. He was gentle, treating her like she was made of glass. I told you not to come, Etta scolded him, though she squeezed him tight. You have a job. Important work. Nothing is more important than this, Caleb said, pulling back to look at her face. He traced the bruise with his thumb, his jaw muscles jumping. Taggart. He was just in a mood, Caleb. You know how he is. He's the law around here. No, Caleb said softly. He's not the law. He's a criminal with a costume. Caleb walked to the window and looked out at the sleepy street. Has he bothered you since? He drove by twice slow this morning, just watching. Caleb nodded. Good. I want him to watch. Caleb. Etta said, her voice filled with worry. Don't you go down there and start a fight. He has deputies. He has guns. You're just one man. Caleb turned to her. A small, dark smile played on his lips. It wasn't a happy smile. Mama, I'm not going to start a fight. I'm going to finish one. And I'm not just one man. He pulled his phone out. He opened an encrypted messaging app. There was a group chat titled simply Echo Platoon. He typed a single message touchdown. Situation confirmed. Bad. Need eyes on. 3 seconds later, a reply came from a contact named Tex ETA 4 hours, bringing the toys. Another reply from Viper. I'm in Atlanta. 2 hours out. I'll bring the legal. Caleb put the phone away. I'm going into town to get some groceries, Mama. You need milk. Caleb. Just milk, Mama. I promise I won't lay a hand on him today. Caleb was telling the truth. He wasn't going to hit Taggart today. Violence was the last resort for an amateur. For a professional, information was the first weapon. He drove the truck to Main Street. He parked directly in front of the sheriff's station. He didn't go in. He just sat there, engine idling. Sheriff Taggart walked out of the station 5 minutes later, adjusting his sunglasses. He saw the black truck. He saw the stranger behind the wheel staring at him. Taggart puffed out his chest and walked over. He tapped on the window. Caleb rolled it down slowly. You lost boy? Taggart asked. He didn't recognize Caleb. It had been too long, and Caleb had changed too much. No, Sheriff. Just admiring the town, Caleb said. His voice was flat, devoid of accent, devoid of fear. You got a reason to be parked in a police zone. Is this a police zone? I don't see a sign. Caleb repeated the words his mother had told him over the phone. Taggart's eyes narrowed behind his aviators. You got a smart mouth. Step out of the vehicle. Caleb turned off the engine. He opened the door and stepped out. He kept unfolding, rising up, until he towered over Taggart by 3 inches. Taggart had to crane his neck to look him in the eye. Taggart took a half step back, his hand instinctively dropping to his holster. ID. Caleb reached into his back pocket slowly. He pulled out his wallet and handed over his military ID. Taggart looked at it. He squinted. Navy, huh? What do you do, peel potatoes? Something like that, Caleb said. Taggart handed the ID back with a sneer. Well, sailor, this isn't the high seas. This is my town. Move the truck or I tow it. I'm moving, Caleb said. He leaned in slightly. I just wanted to get a good look at you. Why? So I don't forget the face, Caleb said. He got back in the truck and drove away. Taggart stood there, an uneasy feeling settling in his gut. He was used to fear. He was used to anger. But the way that stranger looked at him, it wasn't fear or anger. It was assessment. It was like a butcher looking at a side of beef deciding where to make the first cut. Caleb drove to Sally's skillet. He walked in. The diner was quiet. Jenny was wiping the counter. Can I help you? She asked. I'm Etta's son, Caleb said. Jenny's eyes went wide. Oh, I'm so sorry. I tried to help her, I swear. I know you did, Caleb said gently. I need a favor, Jenny. Does this place have security cameras? Jenny nodded. Yeah, the owner, Mr. Henderson, put them in last month because people kept skipping out on the bill. But he's scared of Taggart. He won't give you the footage. Is the system connected to the internet? Caleb asked, glancing at a router blinking in the corner. I think so. Why? Caleb pulled a small USB drive from his pocket. I don't need Mr. Henderson to give it to me. I just need you to look the other way for 30 seconds while I plug this into the router. Jenny looked at the door. She looked at Caleb's intense eyes. She remembered the sound of the slap. She turned around and started washing a cup. I don't see anything. Caleb moved. Fast and silent. He plugged the drive into the router's USB port. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Link established. Thank you, Jenny, Caleb said. If Taggart comes in, act normal. But if he asks about me,